Welcome back to Progressive. I'm joined here with my co-host Ben Bartlett, and today we get to honor a new guest, Micah Erfan. Micah, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here, guys.
So we have some kind of fun and a little silly, just like a way that I like to cope with things, but uh, we're going to make a tier list of the most corrupt things that the second Trump administration has done. And I'm really looking forward to this because I've been thinking about this as just like a very silly way to rationalize some really, really bad things. Ben, you want to explain the linear scale, which Micah
Yeah, I
devised?
mean, I think at first we were maybe just going to go off corruption, but I think that's a little limiting because the scale of shitty things Trump has done maybe goes beyond just corruption. So we're kind of ranking it on a subjective scale of severity, and corruption's part of that, illegality is part of that, just being a really stupid policy is part of that. So I think it should be fun. We'll kind of play around with what our standards are as we go through, but I don't think there will be any shortage of bad things to go.
Corruption is just too limiting for Trump, okay? He's
Yeah.
he's a guy, he likes variety, and he expresses his badness in a wide variety of ways, so our scale incorporates that.
See, I like that because I'm like he's such a character that like I wish there's another timeline where we just like crown him like the shit poster of America and he just fucks off, you know? Just let him tweet and make funny things. Because every time I think about him, I think about that I've never seen a thin person drink Diet Coke tweet, and then I think like, wow, and this is the guy who's like he may very well kill millions of people, you know? Like
I'll
just
still
because of
I'll keep drinking that garbage. But
anyway, so should we
great,
hop on
yeah.
the first
So
one?
yeah, I think we're just gonna go one by one through each of these scandals, give a little overview of each, and then yeah, start ranking.
Well, so the first one, I realized I probably should have picked the picture of the actual prison, but I picked the meeting with Bukele in the White House, where the president decided, hey, let's build some prisons, let's build El Salvadorian prisons, and let's send Americans there. Granted, he only sent a few, and then it became a whole controversy of did he deserve to go there? And then it's like, well, hold on, wait a minute, you can't just export somebody to a different country for questionable acts that you have to try on our land, but. Micah, you got any legal analysis since you going to
There's
be
a
over UVA?
lot of people that have been deported to El Salvador, and 90% of them committed no crime and have no criminal record. That's according to Bloomberg. We've actually found recently that some of the people in prison in El Salvador, over a dozen, are fully legal immigrants. Like, not only did they not commit a crime, because coming here and being undocumented is not a crime, but they came here legally. So that's pretty bad. Now, this is him meeting with them. I guess we'll include the fact that people are being imprisoned in El Salvador in the equation. For those who don't know, Bukele, uh, he's definitely a dictator. Like, there's just like no question about it. He has Philosopher King as his bio, which is remarkable. He has, if you guys go look at his banner on Twitter, he has like tons of soldiers like standing out. They look kind of like stormtroopers. I mean, it's kind of cool, but it's like really fascist. And he made a map the other day that he posted of like of countries based on like how democratic they are, and he put every single country as authoritarian, including his own. So like that, like he knows that he's an authoritarian guy, and he took El Salvador's constitution and basically ripped it to shreds. He said the military on parliament forced them to vote for some of his legislation, and in El Salvador, there's a 1-term limit. He's already been there for more than 1 term, right? So he's a dictator. I say this is a pretty bad one. It's at least an A, if not a S.
See, like I was thinking about that because I'm like questionable, like just getting to choose who you disappear and who you don't. Like I feel like it's opening the door to S tier, though. I mean, it isn't S tier yet, but I agree with you in the sense that it could become S tier, but it hasn't yet. So making it A, like it's in terms of it,
Yeah.
it's really bad, but it could have been worse, which is a crazy
Well,
sentence.
what almost takes it another level to me is just the stupidity and like not even putting any effort into putting a plausible explanation up for how it's legally justified. And like when the court ruled that he had to facilitate the return, his lawyers and the smart people in the administration were like arguing he had no power to facilitate the return. And then Trump is openly on multiple interviews saying like, yeah, I mean, if I made a phone call, I could easily bring him back in 2 seconds. And I think it's very funny because clearly I think the reason why he doesn't have the ability to like maintain their fake story is because he wants to never drop the illusion that he can get anything done. So he still wants like the image of the deal maker that if he really wanted to, he could force the El Salvador guy to do whatever he wants. So like his own ego and hubris is in theory like dooming their legal justification, which I mean, who cares? we will see if that matters, but it definitely pisses me off when they don't even bother trying to pretend it's legal.
Right, and he violated his Supreme Court order here, which is like pretty much as bad as it gets. Now he kind of avoided it in a roundabout way. It wasn't like, oh, F the Supreme Court, like we don't care about you guys. It was like, oh yeah, like I can't do it, right? But it's almost there. It's an A for sure. If we talk about this any longer, it might be an S, but we'll put it at A for now.
It's just kind of interesting because I remember reading about like defying the Supreme Court. Like I remember when I was given a Capitol tour when I was being like an intern at Capitol Hill, right? And I would always tell like the story about Andrew Jackson like defying the court and whatnot when I'd go by a statue, and I'd always like point out and be like, oh yeah, and that's in the Insurrection statue, not a great guy. And here we are. He's just like defying the Supreme Court. I'm like, that's bad. You probably should not be able to do that, but you can't just be like, oh, whoops. All right.
And a Supreme Court where a plurality were appointed by him. They're mostly his own justices, or ironically, the Republican ones he didn't appoint are probably his strongest soldiers anyway. So yeah, it's not like it's a court that's biased against him or something, or that he could even argue
I mean,
that.
you have a 6-3 conservative Supreme Court, and 4 of the conservatives don't agree with him. And even on this issue, Alito and Thomas, okay, were against him. That you have to do something really freaking illegal for Alito, the guy who flew a pro January 6 flag outside not one of his houses, 2 of his houses, to rule against your ass. Okay, so that was pretty bad.
That's so in terms of bad, that's our first A. I like that. But in terms of more silly and asinine, Gulf of America, what do you think?
I mean, it's clearly a national atrocity. It's the worst thing that's happened in at least 20. I mean, no, it doesn't matter. I don't care. Gulf of America. I mean, like America, there's 2 continents of America even. If you said Gulf of the United States, it would have been a little bit more preposterous. It's just it's obviously a D. I mean, if anything on this list doesn't really matter, it's that one.
It's just such a nothing burger. Like of all the things to do, it's like this is what you're wasting your time on. Like I don't give a shit what it's
More
called.
than the Super Bowl.
It very much feels like a Trump first term scandal. It feels like something that he would have done in his first term, and like resist libs would have made it out to be like maybe the worst thing he did. But I think all sides have kind of gotten a little above that, and it's small potatoes now.
No, I mean he literally said in the video on the Super Bowl was going on. He said it's bigger than the Super Bowl. This is a day that's bigger than the Super Bowl. So I mean, it isn't bigger than the Super Bowl event, but it is still D tier.
Yeah. Of all the ones, like, that one I'll settle with. But all right, well, so we got the Qatari jet, the 770 million. Is that what it is, right? Or $800 million jet that the Qatari government decided to gift him. Which last I checked, there's some rules about what is it? Is it gifts when you're in power? You probably shouldn't accept almost $1 billion gift of a jet from a foreign country, but what do I know? I mean, that's Micah, what are your thoughts on that?
Generosity become illegal? You soy
I'm to be a nice
liberal
guy.
getting mad at just a $700 to $800 million act of generosity. I mean, it's obviously like kind of just so insane that even a lot of Republicans were like, wait, do we support this shit? Right? Like I thought we were America first. Now Trump's running around like all the Arab states and he's like, I love you guys. I'm going to throw money at you guys. We're going to make you so rich. So, I mean, I think whenever you understand this in the greater context of Qatar's strategy, it makes it a little bit more absurd, right? They paid over 100 MAGA influencers tons of money to spread their ideological agenda, right? Pam Bondi was a lobbyist for Qatar for making crazy amounts of money just like 2 years ago. Like the administration's just crawling with Qatari influence. What the fuck is Qatar? Where's Qatar? Like, why is this country that's so small, it has like 500,000 people, able to so easily take over the Republican Party? It's kind of fucking embarrassing. And it's sad that it's working, right? Like after they made this offer, Trump's like, oh, we're getting rid of sanctions on Syria, by the way. Well, we're the best friend of the Arabs. Allahu Akbar. Like, long live Allah, right? It's like I think it's just a sad indictment of our country that this is so effective. But, listen, it's like a C tier thing for this guy. This is corruption, not fascism. So I think it's a C tier thing.
Yeah, I would agree. It's probably, I might go as far as B tier just because it's so blatant, and how many, like I saw Rand Paul was criticizing it. I saw there was an interesting, people were referencing that Obama in his book wrote about how I don't know if it was Qatar, it was some country in the Middle East, but how when he went there for his first trip as president, that on his bed when he got to the room, and this was the same for all the diplomats there from the U.S., there was just like super expensive rubies and jewelry and necklaces, and they were like told with the box or told by the diplomats there to take whichever one they wanted and that they could take one home. And Obama talked about how like it made him wonder how many people don't have a rule against this like the US does, or how many people like Trump would simply take the necklace and never mention it again, and how many other countries are basing their policy in part on these bribes. And now we know that ours is apparently one of those countries.
Right. And
Yeah,
for context, this isn't a transfer to the United States government. This is a
Nope.
transfer that ultimately will be to him personally. And the saddest thing is, this isn't even the biggest grift of this administration thus far. His memes, his crypto tokens have been bought. He's like, I don't know, 10x his wealth. He's made way more money off of selling crypto bullshit than any time in real estate evicting poor people. Okay, at least he actually had buildings and was doing something back then. We've had lobbyists, foreign countries buying his cryptocurrencies, enriching the hell out of this guy. It's fucking crazy to like conceive of the fact that this is not even close to the most corrupt thing he's done thus far.
Well, so I mean, in that vein, okay, we'll put that as C, right? Because it's a plane. Like, I mean, come on, who doesn't get,
Well,
your buddies, you go for drinks, you get a plane.
but people are trying to justify it with the Statue of Liberty analogy, which is beyond, like, the Statue of Liberty was not put at whatever president at the time's private residence after his term was up. Like, it's just a ridiculous comparison. And when I saw Trump's justification that a lot of like TikTok comments were like, oh, he's kind of onto something. He was like, I'd be stupid not to take the deal. Why would I not take it? I mean, if they're offering us something for free, but it's not us, it's him. And this is a plane for him. So yeah, it is very depressing that this is not his most blatantly corrupt act, but I would argue it's his most visibly corrupt act, because even the crypto stuff, a lot of that's unknown. That's what's scary about it. This is very explicitly known. We know who paid him. We know who is trying to get something out of it, and it's very explicit. And yeah, I would probably go up to B, but I'm happy with C for.
Well, I guess in that same vein, they're kind of tied. So do we put the plane at C or the cryptocurrency at B? We can put them both in B or C, but I mean, the crypto one is
cryptocurrency is
scary.
at B, because now literally anybody can. But and this is true with his stocks too in his company. Anybody, if they want to win favor with the Trump administration, can buy that currency or those stocks, and they do to win favor with this motherfucker. Like, I just can't fucking believe that we had to listen to them whining and bitching and screaming about like Biden's son Hunter getting an appointment on a Ukrainian company board. What the fuck was the company's name? We don't even know the name. Oh, he was a board member of some random Ukrainian. Like, meanwhile, Trump takes a bribe the size of the entire economy of that fucking, like, the entire economy of Ukraine every single goddamn day. And none of these guys on Rumble, okay, none of these motherfuckers on 4chan are even, they're not pressed. They don't give a fuck. No, it's based when he does that. I'm so dumb, bro.
Well, and it's what's so funny for the meme coin stuff is how much people knew. Like, Trump's Truth Social stock was kind of the original version of this. It's a very incredibly fake social media app that you go on there, and there seems to be exactly one human user, and it somehow, I believe, was valued in the billions from its stock. And what I found incredibly like blackpilling was on election night, as the results came in, when it became more clear Trump was going to win, like, the stock shot up because everyone knew that it's basically a Ponzi scheme to support the president. And then the meme coin, of course, was even more explicitly that. But yeah,
Well, that's
it's
what the meme
depressing.
coin was about. I mean, it's all kind of awful because I think the meme coin, like it right after he won, he made so much money off the pump and dump of his stupid little coin. I think like he was like the sixth richest person on Earth temporarily. Like,
by May 2025, 40% of Trump's net worth is now in crypto assets.
yeah, it's fucking insane. Like the fact that, and the worst part is like anybody can buy it. Like, cryptocurrency, the whole thing is decentralized currency, right? Anyone can buy it. You can't track it. Like, that's what Bitcoin and that shit was used for, right? It was to buy drugs and buy shit you weren't supposed to. But now anyone can do that. You could just buy his fucking coin and be like, the whole thing with like Trump Hotel, right? Like, you used to be able to stay there and like, oh, you had to do all these things to funnel the money, whatever. And you could only do so much. Now you just fucking, if you are worth $1 billion, you just throw that billion into his fucking coin and like walk into the White House. Like, that's insane.
Well, And I didn't realize he also they also launched the World Liberty Financial, which is a crypto exchange platform where the Trump family owns a 60% stake, and it's a like crypto exchange platform that the website like has pictures of Trump everywhere and like heavily promotes him, but they make a bunch of money off. I think it's like a 2% from every transaction on there. Um,
Jesus
and
Christ.
explicitly they're promoting it as the website of the president of the United States, which is very normal.
And they invest the money that he makes on all of this bullshit, okay, from all these corruption and all these bribes in their creator ecosystem of shills who just constantly 24/7 suck this guy off. It's just like, they use the power they get from their influencer army to be corrupt, and they reinvest the money in more of the same bullshit. I'm so tired of this shit. Anyway, let's go. We got to get through these.
So the Amazon Prime deal, or for the Prime documentary deal with Melania, where she got like what was it, $28 million to get a documentary made about her that nobody's
Okay,
gonna
I don't
watch.
even care anymore, bro. I give it a D.
Just absolutely nothing for her.
Probably gonna give it D, but honestly, all of these like I sort of put a lot of stuff into this basket of like the entertainment industry like being cucked by Trump and terrified of him in the second term, and like what was it, CBS and ABC with those settlements, and Facebook I believe paid him off like huge settlement for banning him from the platform after January 6th. Like I would definitely put a D tier because I don't think this is necessarily like Trump exerting his power as much as it's just like cowardly, overly
It's like a shameless
reacting to the vibe shift from Hollywood and entertainment companies, but it's still pretty
Well, it's just a crazy amount of money
black-pillar.
to give her for the deal. Like, okay, I get it. You're gonna
Yeah,
do your documentary shit. Why are you paying her so much? Like, I don't think the Obamas were paid this much for this kind of stuff. And also, who wants to watch a documentary about Melania? Not even the Republicans care about her. Trump doesn't even care about her. Nobody cares about this person. Like
yeah.
their entire ideology is hating people like Melania and never wanting them to come to the United States again. She has an accent and she's an immigrant, bro. The only thing she has going for her with MAGA people is her relation to Trump and that her skin isn't very dark.
Wow. No, you're right. Like, I mean, fuck. It's like that same thing of like, if anybody else did this though, could you imagine like the backlash though? Like, could you imagine if it was like, oh, like First Lady Jill Biden signs like a $30 million deal? Like, dude, we would not be hearing that shit for like months. People would still be talking about that shit.
There would literally be like MAGA influencers squealing about it like in 7 years. Okay, just like they're talking about, I don't know, Pizza Hut basement.
Yep. Well, and
Uh,
Jeff Bezos, I mean, but I feel like it's lost in my memory hole of the whole weeks around the election, but he did kill the endorsement of Kamala right before the election too. I mean, this started before he even won all these, and he did $1 million contribution to the inauguration fund too.
Here's my question. And this is directed to you, Jeff. Okay. I know you're watching this podcast. What is the point of being the richest guy in the world if you're just going to be a bitch? What's the point? You accumulate all this wealth, right? I'm the boss now. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. Then the moment this guy comes into power, you don't like this guy. This guy doesn't give a fuck about you. And now you're on hands and knees doing whatever he wants.
And I
insane.
gotta say, Jeff Bezos was one of the like few billionaires where I was like, if I suddenly came into $1 billion, maybe I would like. He's not the worst use of that in terms of like personally, because he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna be a roided up like get all this work done. Now I'm going from being a nerd to like owning all these sports teams and stuff. And then he never bought the Boston Celtics, and then he did this with Trump. He's fallen off the billionaire shortlist ranking in my
Yeah,
mind.
Bezos, you're not going to
Joe
be
Lacob, number one,
you're
still.
going to be low on our billionaire tier list. Okay, well, you'll see.
Well, so in that same vein, what about making millionaires out of Ashley Babbitt's family, using you and my dollars to pay her $5 million to the family? Or well, she's dead, so that's not paying $5 million to her, but to the family.
I think it's like a B or something. I mean, it's like we've kind of all gone over the fact that there was an insurrection where they tried to overthrow the country because right now the people that planned it are in power right now and are constantly trying to overthrow the Constitution. But like it is like really freaking crazy that not only did these people get away with it and not get life sentences, but now we're like martyrdom. We're like the official position of the United States government is that this person's a martyr. Like,
Well,
dude, if you knock on a door and you open a door to a Republican's house and you get shot, guess what they say? They say you deserved it. This person is banging on the door. They're attacking police officers. She gets shot, and now we have to cry and piss our pants about it. We have to go all have a vigil for her.
It's ridiculous.
And pay her $5 million.
But what's so like obvious about how bad it is that they didn't run on this. I mean, Trump a little bit did, but all of the clear-minded people around him, the JD Vances of the world, were explicitly stating in interviews weeks before the election that, well, of course he's not going to pardon the violent criminals or the ones who assaulted police officers. And I'm sure he would have said, of course he's not going to give a $30 million claim to someone whose shooting was ruled by the police who they claim to love as self-defense. And yet he went ahead and did it, and there's no accountability there, which does not shock me. But I think it's clear that they knew how obviously bad this would come off, and is. But
Yeah, I think
they
it's
don't give a
B.
fuck.
Still happened.
So yeah, like I put it in B simply because it's like you're paying off the people who tried to overthrow the government. You shot her after she was banging on the door trying to fucking overthrow the government and hang Mike Pence out there, and then now you're paying her off like her family. Like that's fucking crazy. But what about cutting Secret Service to John Bolton? Because his former was he Secretary of Defense or what the fuck was he? Cutting his
National Security Advisor, I think.
National Security. Yeah, cutting security detail for your national security advisor, right? After he's already had like attacks on his or threats on his life from Iran, like all because you're mad that he called you a bitch and he goes on fucking TV and calls you a bitch. Like that's.
It's just classic Trump bullshit. I mean, he would have done that 2016. I don't think we should spend too long in this one, but I give it a C or something. Because what he's just constantly saying is if you're not loyal to me, you're going to have problems, right? And your life is going to be in danger. And why does he really care about that? Because he wants people that will break the law. He wants people that will do his coup, right? So in 3 years or whatever, whenever he says, I'm King Trump now, bitch, like I'm running for election again. Like, yo, let's go. Like, and all these guys are like, oh shit, like Marco Rubio, he makes that goddamn face. He's like, he'll be like, okay, yes, sir. Instead of saying, oh shit, like this is actually really bad. I should leave. Right. So he's trying to intimidate people. That's why it's not a D, it's a C. But who gives a fuck about John Bolton? I mean, he's kind of a loser.
Yeah, I mean, it's still bad. Like I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm like, look, why are you doing it? But we're long past match life.
Didn't he also revoke like Kamala's extended clearance and service protection? I believe she's up in 6 not that long from now in June, and that I think it traditionally like they extend the period a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Trump is it's pretty explicit what his goal is here, and pretty dark. And I wish more people would press him on this of like, why do you think this is something that will scare people off? And the obvious answer is because they might be murdered by a crazy person. But I don't think he's ever been pressed to that logical end.
Nobody has time to press him on anything because he does something every single day. Like that's
It's like you can't. Yeah.
And
Well,
like,
it's like the flood of
like Americans aren't paying attention to anything. Like you tell them about any of this shit, they forgot about it. Or like they don't care.
Yeah. They don't even know what happened.
Understand that it's illegal. Like they don't Supreme Court orders. Like, whoa, what the fuck? What is that? There's 3 branches. Like you got to spell this shit out. That's the unfortunate thing. It's like maybe we should just choose one thing and talk about that 24/7. Not because it's actually the worst thing or there's not new shit going on, but just because that might be the only thing that reaches people's brains. Like that's what Trump did. Like emails and shit with Hillary. But the thing about the Republicans, here's their advantage. We don't do that much bad shit. So there's like one thing for them to talk about and they get to talk about 24/7. He does so much bad shit. It's really hard for us all to agree about which bad thing that we should talk about.
It makes you sound like you have like a tinfoil hat on because they're like, oh, you have Trump derangement syndrome. And I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like what do you want me to do? Like I could list like 5 crimes committed today. I don't know.
Well, I feel like so much of the Trump thing is people have this attachment to like, well, somewhere in the middle must be the reasonable answer. So when he like, I mean, I guess this is like often what left-wing people argue, but like when he pushes the Overton window so much with all of his insane shit, and if it comes off like, oh, you disagree with everything he does, you must be super unreasonable. And it's like the trap of that, and like having a debate with him, it's like, oh, well, the right answer must be somewhere in the middle, even if he's made up every part of his answer and the other part's completely true. Like people have this attachment.
Right. You must just not be paying attention. And that's the truth. Like, bro,
Mhm.
you're not paying attention. I honestly think one of our problems is like we're like so diplomatic with people who don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I've seen kind of data on this recently. I used to believe that if you like go really hard in the paint on people, like they don't change their mind. But I actually think maybe not that person that you go really hard in the paint on, like they might not change their mind. But if people realize like how stupid it is to say like, well, both sides are bad. Like people, we should just
Yeah.
flame these people 24/7. And so like
100%.
people don't want to say that shit because it's fucking embarrassing. It's fucking, if you think that,
Yeah.
you should be fucking embarrassed. Okay? You should
I think
cry.
that's such a great point. Well, because all this talk about how, yeah, like we need to coddle the like soft Trump supporters who we've lost by coming off as like uh, too woke or trying to shrink the tent or whatever. But the counter example of that, the people who apparently won these people over, it's not like they were making this like very sincere attempt to be like moderate or be really understanding of the other side. Like, yeah, you're right. It might not, destroying someone in a debate might not convince the person you destroy, but I actually do think that's a very effective persuasion tactic. And clearly that's what the right wing's done. I mean, the entire like Gen Z right wing shift, I think, can be attributed to like the Ben Shapiro owned with facts and logic, the change my mind stuff at the college campuses. Like, I think a lot of it does relate to that. And yeah, like a Pete Buttigieg or even I loved Sam Cedar when he went on Jubilee, and like he was not, he would call them fucking stupid when they were. And I think all the comments were pretty supportive. So
Just put me
we'll
in.
see.
Jubilee, put me in.
Call
Well, it
Micah.
seems to be not too hard to get on there as long as you're the
Honestly,
sacrificial
true.
lamb.
Dude, they pick people out of like our university sometimes. Like they were doing an episode, and like I saw a clip on fucking Instagram Reels, and I was like, holy shit! Like I know that girl. Like I'll be like go to the gym, right? And I work there, and like all of a sudden I see like her all the time. Like she was in one of those like episodes of like Natty or Not, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing there? Like I fucking whatever. But what about Musk? Like that whole like this is just him in the White House. But honestly, he's been fucking AWOL, so I really don't know where to put him because he's just been fucking
Wait, so
off
is
grid. Like
it
I have
just
no clue. He's doing.
Elon, like as a person?
Just him as like special cabinet advisor selling
Well,
Teslas in the White
I feel
House.
like it's all of DOGE too as a whole, like the whole DOGE
Yeah.
operation.
Right. So like there's so many things here. This guy, this fucking South African guy, okay? He just called immigrants parasites. Bitch, you're an immigrant. Like you're an immigrant. Like, bro, you're from South Africa, dude. Like he literally
You're the guy coming to our country trying to change it and change the culture because you don't like it. It's what you complained about.
I've never seen someone so pressed over apartheid going away. Like apartheid ended, he never fucking got over it. Now he wants to establish it here. Like he's made our entire refugee policy, literally the whole thing, about South African white people, as if that's the group of people in the entire world. Look at the entire world. In Sudan, they're getting killed. Okay, in Gaza, they're getting killed. But you know what? You know who needs help? The white people in South Africa. Now tell me this: what percentage of the land do white people in South Africa own? It's more than 5%. It's more than 10%. It's more than 85%. It's 90%. This is the most oppressed group in the country? I mean, in the world? The requirement to be a refugee to the United States is to be a racial minority in South Africa. Who is that? It's freaking white people and some Indians. Fair enough. But like that's freaking crazy. Who has a race-based refugee policy?
No
Oh,
Ukraine, no
Dutch is
Ukraine,
illegal, by the
no
way.
Ukrainians, no
Doge is
nobody
bad
Yeah.
else.
also.
Yep. Well, and some of the broader cuts when we're talking about like how illegal and corrupt and blatantly unconstitutional some of these things are. I'm taking this journalism class and was writing an article for my for like the student paper. And a friend of mine I interviewed for the article, she worked for the Department of the Interior, and she was technically a probationary employee, and she was fired from her post like by the initial Elon cuts, and her, because the only legal justification for firing these workers without an act of Congress is bad performance, she was fired for bad performance. And her literal supervisor, the one who was in charge of evaluating her performance, he handed her the letter that said you're fired for bad performance. And when he handed it to her, he said, I don't agree with any part of this. I think your performance has been fantastic, but they're making me give this to you. And so they didn't even make an attempt to cover up how illegal it was. And then it did get overturned by a court, and she got ordered to be hired back, which she found out about through a New York Times headline and like not from her boss or anything. But yeah, so it's that stuff I just think is so like the lack of any care for like the human side of it and the actual individuals whose lives you're like throwing into chaos just to get overturned a month later. I would rank the Elon Doge stuff pretty damn high.
Well, they've
Yeah.
also killed probably millions of Africans
Yeah.
with the black kind, not the white kind. Don't worry, the white kind are safe. Because the cuts to foreign aid, which apparently doesn't do anything. I'm told it doesn't do anything. Includes cuts to anti-malaria programs and anti-AIDS programs. And some of y'all might know this, but people in Africa struggle with contagious diseases as well. Actually, extra. And so whenever we get rid of the stuff stopping them from getting those diseases, guess what? They get those diseases. So not only is he shredding the Constitution, illegally firing people, but he's killing people in Africa. And he's also firing people at the FDA responsible for vetting the safety of our food and our medicine. Now, what does that do? That means more people get sick, right? Because their food is dirty, but also the drug approval process, which is so inefficient. We all hate that. It's not efficient, right? Guess what? It's made less efficient because now everybody who's responsible for reviewing, like half of their workforce is laid off. What does that do to drugs? Well, we know what it does because already some drugs have been canceled because they know it's going to take so long to get through this DOGE bullshit approval process at the FDA that they can't do their drug anymore. They don't have the money to do it. So he's also killed Americans. Congratulations.
Well, at least that sounds super efficient. I'm glad he made it so much more efficient to get that
He's like
done. The abundance agenda.
He's maximizing the number of deaths that he could generate for every dollar cut. It's really tremendous. Give it an S tier.
I was gonna say, like, isn't it on track to kill more people in the next 5 or what, up by 2029 or something like that? By like more than the Holocaust, I think, by the projections between the anti-malaria, anti-HIV,
And it
you
was
name
like
it.
pennies. It was not like trillions of dollars. Like in the grand scheme of the U.S. budget, it was an accounting error. And
Meanwhile, the Republican budget's going to add $40 trillion to the debt or whatever the hell over the next
at least like the
30
poor,
years.
suffering, starving billionaires will have like a little extra money. So
Temporarily.
yeah, temporarily.
I was gonna say, you can see
I
that.
also think something that's been completely not mentioned at all with the DOGE stuff. I mean, I get it because there's actual real world impact to these policies, but the reason it's named DOGE is because it's a reference to a meme coin that Elon Musk owns a shit ton of that started at like 1/10 of a cent and then jumped up, so people got rich off of it. But I was curious. I actually didn't know this until I just looked it up. So the DOGE thing was announced by Trump on it was announced on November 12th. So on November 10th, the Dogecoin was worth about 19 cents, or it was worth about 19 cents. The day after Trump announced it, it shot up within a week to 46 cents. So that means anyone who was holding that Dogecoin when Trump announced that more than doubled their money if they got out, which could very well include Elon Musk, who has openly talked about how he owns tons of this. So I think it's like, not only are the policies awful, literally the name is represents corruption and a similar thing to the Trump meme coin. So it's like
Sure,
even more dumb.
I mean, aside from the fact that it's like they've completely ruined, like, even just looking like at a Shiba Inu for me, because like I like Doge. I like Doge as a meme. I liked it before it was whatever the fuck this is. It was a good meme, right? It was fine. It was whatever. It was like Pepe's before they were like neo-Nazi propaganda. But
Yeah,
the
they ruined
USA stuff,
Pepe, they ruined Doge. Doge was way better than Pepe too. Never liked
yeah,
Pepe.
no, and they're trying to ruin Wojaks too. But I was gonna say,
We
like,
should
I mean,
probably
Doge
speed run
stuff.
these so this doesn't go super long, but
Yeah,
this is
that's fair.
the crazy deportation one. Like, I honestly,
yeah.
just like think about what happened here. The government, government terrorists. Trump calls them police. These guys are terrorists. They went to this guy's house. They said, "You said words that we don't like in a sequence that we don't like. We're we're putting you in prison for this bullshit. We're putting you in prison." And then all these First Amendment bros, the free speech warriors, the ones that are so mad that they don't get a stage and a microphone at UC Berkeley 24/7. They don't get speaking fees for speaking at universities. They said, "Oh, you know what? Based. Based. Oh, actually, like actual censorship. Arresting people for speech? Based. It's freaking S tier."
S tier, okay. I was gonna say I put it S tier simply because it's just we don't like what you said, so therefore you're disappearing. Like, that's insane. That's fucking crazy for a whole country that's built on free speech. Like, that is genuinely fucking crazy.
No, I would agree. S tier, and it's just like I guess there's a legal argument for like that you can basically deport anyone who's not a permanent citizen for pretty much anything, but like it's so fundamentally against, like you're saying, yeah, everything they've complained about, the cancel culture stuff, and it's just like the idea that like I know a lot of people who I guess are on visas, like a lot of students who are like I would never think of as being at risk for this. But the idea that they could say, and is like people say it's, I guess, somewhat you could justify it legally, but could they stretch that to a further limit of like criticizing Trump goes under this? Like, I don't think it's very far away from that at all, and you can
Well, they're
easily
already
make
doing
that
that.
justification.
They're already checking
Yeah.
the phones of people as they come over the border. But I'd like to read a section of this document. I'm not sure if Republicans have ever heard of it. It's called the Constitution. Okay. So I'm going to read this to y'all. No edited version. This is the original document. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Wait a minute. I didn't hear the word citizens in there. Did y'all hear that? I didn't hear the word. I just heard that they shouldn't make any law. So it almost is like maybe the founders just forgot to include that this is all just for citizens, or maybe it was like, oh, the government shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
Okay, instead.
And it's not, and you can make some regulations on speech, I suppose, but the viewpoint neutral thing is not remotely met here. I mean, I guess he's justifying it by saying like it's a national security concern and saying like Hamas terrorism or something, but it's so obviously viewpoint neutral. I mean, if someone was pushing for, I don't know, was calling for like Israel to like go way harder in Gaza and like wipe it completely out, like they clearly weren't deporting someone for doing that. It's not remotely viewpoint neutral. It's entirely hinged on their political perspective, which couldn't go more against the law of the Constitution and the like spirit of it. But lovely.
Also, what about Inspector General firings? Your whole thing is efficiency, so you fire the guys that are responsible for keeping things efficient.
Oh, wait, these guys, the what are they called?
Inspector Generals, like the just independent watchdogs.
I mean, it's obviously D tier because like that's just normal levels of bad. We don't need to talk about it more than that. But yes, like DOGE fired all of the people responsible for actually making things more efficient. People that have like it literally 1,000 times more experience, knowledge, and credentials to make these sort of judgments than the like 18-year-old Reddit hyper turbo users who are like trying to spend all day logging into like, I don't know, the was it Social Security, and they're like, oh my God, wait, somebody's ID is on here multiple times in the database. It's like, yes, dude, every single time they send out a payment, it's going to be on the database. So every single old person, which is taking multiple payments for Social Security, is in the freaking database. And they're like, oh my God, look, there's people that are over 120 years old in the database. Yes, there's people in the Social Security database. You're not currently getting Social Security.
Yeah.
You think we just
I think Pete talked about this in the pod. Even in the State of the Union, Trump never said, I believe, he never said like there's people who are over 100 years old getting Social Security payments. He was like out of characterly careful not to say that. He said, these people are in the database, assuming rightfully that all the people would not look any further into it and make the logical assumption based off that. But yeah, it's beyond. Also, it was illegal. I don't know if anything ever happened with that, but like this violated the Whistleblower Protection Act or the Inspector General Protection Act, one of those things. He was supposed to give like a 30-day notice. Yeah. I think there had to be cause. So it's similar to the DOGE stuff, but apparently doesn't matter.
The Treasury payments, Social Security, accessing, the basis of the world financial system, not a big deal. Yeah. I mean, that's,
and there was nowhere for whistleblowers to go, and it had a chilling effect. Like, I mean, it's not just about efficiency. It's about like corruption and like any immoral behavior they can check you on. So no surprise that he wanted to remove any checks and balances, but still depressing.
Well, so in that same instance, we touched on the Treasury payments. Do we put that one in D tier as well?
Yeah.
With the Social Security? Yeah.
Just normal.
Nothing burger. Just let Grok get trained on.
I think some of these are the mystery of it are the problem. And so it's a little hard to rank because we don't really know, especially because he's cut the Inspector Generals. We don't really know what the terrible effects of that have been so far. So
this is the one about Eric. This is the one about Eric Adams, good old Eric.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't have the pleasure of knowing this man, this is the corrupt piece of shit, which we currently call the mayor of New York City.
For now.
And for some reason, woke liberal Eric Adams, the face of Democratic corruption, is now a MAGA-based populist nationalist fighting against the deep state, according to the Trump fans. It's fucking crazy to me because Biden tried to prosecute this guy for taking bribes from, I don't know, Turkey or some other shithole. Like this guy was taking bribes, right? He was literally like everything's recorded. And Trump is like, you know what? we're going to drop all the charges on this guy if he does our immigration plan, but we're going to have the threat of reviving the charges if he doesn't do our immigration plan. And it's just like, bro, I thought y'all hated Democrats. Like, I thought the one thing that I could agree with y'all is like, whenever I hate a Democrat, you hate a Democrat, we can come together. We can like come around. We can barbecue together. We can be like, fuck Eric Adams. And now we can't even do that. The one thing that was holding our, my family together. Now Eric Adams is based, I'm told.
And I assumed when I had heard this story that as I have with many of these things, that the Trump administration had come up with some fake justification for like the charges were fake or overblown or something. But their explicit like order to drop the charges, their rationale explicitly was that Eric Adams was being restricted by these charges, that he needed freedom to devote full attention to assisting Trump's agenda on illegal immigration and crime. Like that was the explicit like justification. That was their legal backing for this insane quid pro quo. And yeah, I guess the common theme here is I'm almost more annoyed when they don't try to like trick
Hide it.
us and they just start blatant about what they're doing. It's almost more depressing.
I feel like that at least deserves a C. Like I feel like 3 stages of a C, at least for threats of rule of law, right? Just the fact of like, oh no, like we're not even trying to hide it. Like just this is a quick, I do this for you, but if you fuck me over, like I'm putting you in jail. So in that case, what about the judge? The judge in Wisconsin that they arrested, and Cash Patel,
That shit's
our
scary as
buddy?
fuck. That's like S. That's either A or S. Like the fact that like not even Orban, okay, the guy, the dictator of Hungary or president or whatever the fuck you want to call him, he doesn't do this shit. Like the Hungarians are looking at us and they're like, man, we thought we had our shit bad. We've had this guy for like 10 fucking years. And he's just out here arresting random elected officials. This is like the third person he's arrested. Like, that's crazy. It's also, as I'm told, based. Now, I have a question for the NRA folks. I was told my entire life, because my grandfather's an NRA member, that the whole point of your goddamn bullshit organization, okay? The whole point of us buying all these guns, we could shoot down tanks, we could shoot down ballistic missiles with the fucking guns you guys have, is that whenever we have a tyrannical government, you're going to rise up. Now's your fucking time, boys. Now's your fucking time. But I don't see you rocking around with your AR-15s in the street right now. Okay? Like I don't see none of that energy that I was promised y'all were going to give when this moment struck, and it's here right now. So I'm gonna need y'all to rise up.
Yeah, maybe they'll finally realize that one side has nukes, and that was always a stupid justification.
It's too based because he's Trump is what was it? Big. He's based. He's like trad or something like that. He's gonna restore like the I don't know, the white culture. I don't know, whatever yada 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 schlop of he's arresting the rogue judges. I don't fucking know. I don't even want to deal with the rationale.
Well, and I think the details of this, like all she did was tell him to go through a door. Like it wasn't like she was like, here's how you can get away with it. Like she said, go through that door, and I guess that was not the door they wanted him to go through. Like that doesn't seem like a legal justification, especially like I'm pretty sure this is the first sitting judge like in modern history to be arrested by federal authorities for how she handled an actual case, like a substantive case, not some separate crime. Like that is very scary.
Then a mayor, then a congresswoman. He's going to use any fucking bullshit excuse he can to arrest every single person. And all these lapdogs, free thinkers, okay, are going to eat that shit up, right? He tells them anything. He just spoons feeds that shit to these people, and they eat it up. It's crazy. I mean, he could arrest somebody for sneezing in the wrong direction, and 90% of his base would be for it 100%.
It's crazy watching the whiplash too, because like it'll happen, and the people will like say something, right? Then he'll do something that's antithetical to what they said like a day or two prior, and then you have to like watch them do like the mental gymnastics to be like, oh no,
the tariffs were the ultimate example of that, where it was like, oh, these are just a negotiating tactic, and then it was, well, actually, no. Here's why this is like a great policy. It's not a negotiation tactic. This is our actual policy moving forward. And then when he reached a deal with someone, they were like, see, he knew all along it was a negotiation tactic. I was like, well, you didn't though, because you were justifying it as if it wasn't. But of course, there's never any reflection.
Well, clearly, Ben, you didn't buy the tariff dip, so you know what? Clearly, you don't get it.
You know, I did miss out there.
JT he told you to buy.
You know, he was very direct with his message, I suppose.
It's funny with TikTok. I'm pretty sure you just broke the law, because the only way that you were able to extend the TikTok ban was if there was like an actual plan of purchase and there was just no plan. I still don't think there's a plan, and I don't know how many days are left. Maybe it's already passed, but I'm pretty sure he's just failing to enforce the law here. And it's like, oh shit. Well, it's kind of crazy how easy it is for presidents to do this. Like, have y'all thought about that? It's like, okay, wait. So one day the president can just be like, fuck the law. I'm lawless up in this bit. We're not going to do that shit. And the courts are just like, no. And he's like, what about it? What you going to do about it? Like JD Vance said, oh, I'll ask them to send the army after me, right? I'll wait until they do that, right? Because there's no enforcement mechanism. The only enforcement mechanism that maybe our founders thought of is like the people wouldn't be fucking like brainless. They wouldn't be idiots, right? But it turns out actually everybody that likes this guy just completely there's nothing in there.
I mean, the obvious annoying answer is, I think, what you could, to put it another way, that represents the exact same message is they didn't anticipate the internet, because I think that's really what this all comes down to. That's why everyone's dumber now. That's why they can justify anything, because there's no monoculture Cronkite to give them some facts. Like it really, like, I think the stupidity of the American voter base is entirely like related to the internet.
Checkmate, founding fathers. You forgot about fucking TikTok. You can rot your brain and
They
swipe all
truly
over.
did. They failed to consider the brain rot.
Democracy versus TikTok, democracy loses. I mean, I think that's like a C tier. It's really sad how, like, I mean, at this point, I just don't care about China as much as I used to. I mean, I was like, dude, I'm so anti-China because I hate dictators. But like, you know, we see China. They talk about invading Taiwan, right? That's one country. How many countries have we talked about invading in like the past 100 days? We got Greenland, we got Panama. Like we're investing, like we're gonna invade like all of Europe soon. Like
Okay,
I don't even know how we could be so pressed about what they're doing. Like, am I more scared about Kash Patel's FBI monitoring my house and listening to what I say, or the freaking Chinese? What the frick are the Chinese gonna do to me? I know what Kash Patel wants to do.
Does Xi Jinping wanna like flood my pool or whatever the Maya Rudolph clip is? Basically, what you're saying. It's what we have 3 more left. I feel like
we got 3 more. We got him attacking Big Law.
It's hard on the Trump scale, because I think it's pretty easy to be like, well, I mean, compared to everything he's done, it might be D tier.
Attacking Big Law is like, that's an A for me, because this is just like this. If he keeps doing stuff like this is just straight up dictatorship.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's because you can rename shit all you want. Like you can fuck with John Bolton or whatever. You can be corrupt. That doesn't actually give us a dictatorship. This intimidation stuff, this will give us a dictatorship like that. If nobody can sue this guy, the only thing that's holding this guy back just this much is the courts.
Yeah.
Ancient
Well, and I think we should give the listeners a little context on this one in case they're familiar. So Trump did a series of executive orders targeting major law firms that he deemed politically unfriendly. And so one of the law firms, which I guess is like a prestigious international firm, he canceled all their federal contracts and suspended security clearance for its lawyers. And then the order accused the guy of undermining the U.S. judicial system, which I guess like had to do with working on causes Trump didn't like. But a week later, he rescinded the order after the chairman of that law firm promised to drop all the DEI programs and provide $40 million in free legal services to support Trump's initiatives. So like it couldn't be a more explicit quid pro quo, using government resources and contracts to exert like political and viewpoint based concessions. So what I don't understand is how, like, I know a lot of this stuff is getting blocked in the court. It seems like every single thing we've talked about has clearly an incredibly flimsy legal basis. Like I need like a tracker on all these and the court cases related. Like, how has this not been shut down yet?
No, so this actually has been shut down because the law firms that went against him on this all were successful this far. And of course they're going to appeal, and they're going to be successful because this is just, that's crazy. Like his executive order is basically like, you are going to die. I'm going to destroy your firm. It's over. Right. Like, that's just a crazy order to have. Right. You represented one client I didn't like one time, or you did DEI. Done. No more law for you. And the courts are like, yeah, that doesn't really seem like a very strong case.
What DEI is a national security concern, of course, as is the movie industry leaving the U.S. according to his tariff policy. But I know maybe I'd agree with that one, But movie.
Totally with the lawyer. Like I think Big Law and the university stuff should go in the same bucket simply because
I was going to say it's pretty much the exact same quid pro quo, and And the ones who are brave enough to stand up are the ones probably who are winning court cases.
Act Blue is S tier though, because like, listen, you can attack institutions, but when you attack literally just straight up your opposition, for those who don't know, Act Blue is how the good guys raise money. By the good guys, I mean the Democrats. I know you already knew that, but I'm saying it for those of you who don't register the connection. That is their fundraising platform. He's trying to shut down the Democratic fundraising platform. So, okay. Oh, I'm not shutting down the Democratic Party. I'm just arresting half their candidates, but I'm not shutting them down. But I am shutting down their way to raise money. Oh, okay. That's much better. It's the same shit.
Yeah. Well, and I think some other important context is that so Act Blue, when it was established, I believe it was like sort of around the period where Citizens United happened, and Republicans had a big financial like advantage compared to Democratic candidates in general from a lot of big money donors. And Act Blue, which is mostly small dollar donations to Democratic candidates, like provide kind of even the playing field, and Democrats started actually kind of outperform in fundraising a lot of Republican candidates. And so the Republicans set up their own site called Win Red, which is like an exact clone of Act Blue, but obviously Win Red, it's for the Republicans. And of course, even though it's the exact same site with the exact same mechanics and in theory, I believe, like the same security flaws, that website was not investigated by this order and has not been mentioned once by Trump in relation to any of this. So very, very obviously politically motivated and scary, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Do you guys know what's happened with this? Like, has Act Blue at all been like hurt by this? Have they like?
I imagine some sort of court said, "Hey, no, for now, but we're going to look into that more, and then we're going to tell you no later." The thing is, you know, if people like Trump, just the worst pieces of shit ever, stay around, who appoints the justices? Right? Are the Republican senators going to hold up these fucking flimsy guys? No, Trump's going to say, "Hey, I want like Ronald McDonald, like Trump fan 6969 from 4chan, the guy who's like slaughtered 3 people like on January 6th, right? I want that guy to be a new justice." And you know what all the Republicans will say? Well, the moderate ones will be like, "Well, I was initially concerned, but we had a very good conversation and I will be supporting him." So it's the same shit they did with RFK. "Oh, like I'm a doctor and whatever." I forget which one of these pieces of shit he's a doctor. He's like, "Well, I'm a doctor,
Maybe.
I'm kind of a moderate candidate." And, I talked to him about vaccines, and despite the fact that he was selling shirts which says, "Don't take the vaccine" or whatever, he assured me that he's actually only anti-bad vaccines. So I support him 100%. And now now RFK's there. And this same senator's like, "Oh, I can't believe that he actually has the views that he's advertised his entire life." Y'all gotta make me burst a blood vessel. I'm just not ready for this shit.
It's a person wakes up and discovers the sky is still blue. Is shocked. Can't believe it.
Well,
unbelievable.
But before we wrap, I kind of want to do a little bonus game with this that I'm curious. So this ranking's really like our opinion of which one's the worst, right? But I'm curious, of everything that we've ranked, everything on this list, what is most likely to have the biggest political impact? What is most likely to like be the most unpopular and the most winning issue for Democrats in the opposition? Like, which one is that? Because I mean, we didn't include the tariffs. I guess that seems to be
honestly, with the American people. Since no one's paying attention, only the economic stuff. So the DOGE stuff matters a little bit because the people that got fired are pissed. That's it. Because nobody cares about democracy in this country. The Democrats, we've thought since January 6th that nobody would vote to like end democracy, and we'd be like, "Oh my God, he's authoritarian," and people would be like, and then they're just like, "Oh, what the fuck is authoritarian?" They're like, "What the fuck is democracy?" Oh,
100%.
what judges? We have those? Oh shit, what? Like they don't care about none of that matters at all. So the only thing that matters is the economy.
It's kind of the distinction between like I think it was Matt Iglesias was saying this or something. That the democracy stuff and some of this corruption stuff, it's a great base issue. It's great to generate donations and volunteers and stuff. But the normie voters you actually need to win the elections, that's where we need the economic issues to actually run on. But yeah, it is pretty depressing to go through all of this and then try to look through picking out which one's going to actually hurt him politically. And it's way harder than I would like it to be.
The guitar jet, like sometimes the corruption, if it's super obvious, like some people care, but it's all a media thing too, because half these people are listening to these right-wing show influencers who are just like 24/7, like, "Oh, $700 million guitar jet, like Trump is so smart. He's so smart.
Well, and on that point, I think that's why the tariffs were that effective in actually hurting him, because it wasn't something those people could ignore. Like, they couldn't pretend it wasn't happening because it was so obviously in the news that they had to like at least pretend to make some justification for it or defend it. They couldn't just like talk about trans kids in school being furries or something.
Well,
Okay,
guys,
well, thanks so much, Micah.
I think that we came to the conclusion that Trump's bad. I'm starting to think
I'm not
this
sure
guy's
about that.
Man do be in fact bad.
I'm
That's
really
our hot
glad I didn't
take.
vote for him. I was on the edge. I was like, shit, do I want to vote for like the worst thing ever, like diarrhea, or like Kamala, diarrhea or Kamala? And I was like, fuck,
But I mean, did you consider that she laughed kind of weird a couple times? I don't know.
She laughs kind of weird. She seems kind of
sides are pretty
scripted. She does this weird, like scrunchy thing, and that was almost too much for me. But I held my nose, and I was like, you know what? I don't think fascism is worth it, and I'm feeling better about my decision every single day.
Incredible foresight, because it was just impossible to predict any of this. So basically an oracle.
Who could have seen this happening? It's like you must be a visionary, right? Give me the lottery numbers for tomorrow before you go. But we'll see. Well, Micah, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
I look forward to us being arrested for making this. See y'all in El Salvador.